thank y'all for coming, okay? I appreciate the support. Thank y'all. Thank you, ladies, for coming, the ladies for coming, okay? All right. So, I gave y'all some packets, and on, inside the packets, you have the brochure, and then you have some disclaimers that I give to everybody, and also on the website as well. And the next form is supposed to be an oath, the Flowers of Youth Outreach oath. We're gonna read that at the end of the meeting. Then you have a statistics, page, just some statistics about child sexual abuse, that I printed from the Darkness to Light website. And you can go to that website, it's d2l.org. And they have a vast of information about child sexual abuse, statistics mostly, how to prevent it, what to look for, and the long-term consequences of child sexual abuse. And then there's another form in here about talk about it. If you work with children, or even some of your clients or whatever, if you wanted to make copies of this and pass that out, it's fine. Because the information on the websites, they're free. They have no problem with us printing out the information or anything like that. And then the next form is what we're gonna talk about today. And then the last form is bystander intervention. You know, just a general, just a poster or, like a push, not a push card, but like a flyer of what to do if we suspect child sexual abuse, or what to do if we suspect that a predator is approaching the child, without blowing up the scene, because we have to remember that the child is there, especially if a family member finds out that the child is being sexually abused by a family member or somebody they trusted 100%, they thought they could. How to respond and how to react. So we just wanted to just read over that and share it with your parents as well, if you could, or some of your clients. So if you would just look at the form that talks about the 5 steps to protecting our children. Darkness to Light is real big on education, and so are we. And they give a lot of information about what to look for. A lot of us have discernment, a lot of us don't. A lot of parents feel guilty when it happens to the children, so they take it personal. So us as mandated reporters, like the teachers and the clergy, medical professionals, they're hesitant or reluctant to report the information because the family or the parents are known for cutting up behind their children, or the parents might take it to heart and blame themselves, and it's not their fault. Sexual predators are very sly, they're very subtle. I watched some documentaries, and I believe you should too. Watch some documentaries about these sexual predators and what they look for in the child and why they chose that specific child. The child was isolated, they were easy to isolate, they were easy to gain trust, they were easy to separate from the adults or other people or whatever. So the parents, some parents may respond a certain way if it is reported, because they take it personal, and they shouldn't, but they do. But however, there's a boundary that we should push through to report it, because it needs to be reported. At our last meeting, which was last year, the lady, she was reluctant to report what she saw on a camera in her home because she was afraid of how the parent might react. And we talked about it, we discussed it to and fro, and we came to a conclusion of how to present the information. So it's not what's said, it's so much how it's said, how it's presented, how it's said, So the first step that Darkness to Light reiterated, learn the facts. So that fact sheet is a good piece of information, and it shows that 1 in 10 children will be the victim of sexual abuse before their 18th birthday. How many children is that in a household of 16? How many children is that in America or globally or whatever? but 1 in 10 will be sexually abused before they're 18. And the next meeting, or the next social media post maybe, we'll talk about the long-term consequences. It talks about the addictions and substance abuse. They're all linked, not all of them, but the majority is linked to child sexual abuse. What else? Relationships. There's a trust issue there. Some trust too much and some don't trust enough. There's an extreme on every hand. There's no balance. Coping mechanisms. There's no coping because the survivor, not the victim of child sexual abuse, veered from therapy, counseling, which is very important, not just after it happens, throughout their lifetime. So periodically, the survivor will need to go to counseling to get therapeutic measures, to get that interaction. You need a professional. And I went to a group home to speak to some young ladies, and one of them just refused to go to counseling because she felt like the counselor didn't know what she had experienced. She said, "How am I going to talk to somebody that hasn't been through what I've been through?" And I said, "How do you know they haven't been through what they've been through? They're not at liberty to tell you that they're a survivor of child sexual abuse. However, they have the information, they have the knowledge, they have the professionalism." And a lot of survivors go through life trying to figure it out on their own, and it just makes it worse. It really does. Just like we need a professional, a lot of us need professionals in financial planning. We need a professional to find a house. A real estate agent. We need a professional for any area of life. We need a professional for our mental health as well. It helps. It helps to break down everything that's in your mind. It helps to break it down. So the first step to protecting our children, according to Darkness to Light, is to learn the facts. If we don't understand child sexual abuse, we can't end it. And that's why it's hard to get people in to hear the information, because they haven't been through it. So they really don't have a connection or a feeling. They're not enthusiastic about hearing the information in general. The second step is to minimize the opportunity. Safe environments can help reduce the risk for abuse. So now the children are, when it comes up time for them, like being at home or whatever, I read something on the RAINN website, RAINN, R-A-I-N-N, the Rape Incest National Network. And the rape, I forgot what the A stands for, but the Incest National Network. It talks about ways to prevent any child sexual abuse while the parent is not at home. And it talked about calling several times a day, showing up to the house several times a day, and letting the caregiver know, I'm going to be showing up to the house several times a day. I'm going to send someone over to the house several times a day, and not letting them know the time. And talking with the children about not being alone with the caregiver or with a stranger or with anybody other than me, other than the parent. Being alone, we're telling the caregiver that I'm not allowed to close the door and be in here with you by myself. That's what my mom said. That's what my dad said. And things like that. And having that conversation with the children about their private parts. Not naming the private parts like, this is my apple. No. You say, this is my chest. This is my private part. And letting them know where the private parts are. Discussing that with the children. And we have some free books. I'm glad it's 2, because we got free books for the children. Alicia Barlow, she is an advocate, a child sexual abuse advocate. She's been on Iyanla Vanzant. She has a Instagram Tell Somebody movement. Y'all need to look at that, because she has so much information, and she's advocating not only for the survivors, but also for the predators to get the help that they need. Because everything is mental, but they're trying to make it out to be a sickness now. No, not a sickness, it is an evil, it's an evil doing to our young anyway. So safe environments can help reduce the risk for abuse. So as long as the child feels safe to tell the parent, he touched me in my private part, he rubbed my chest, he tried to kiss me on my lips, that type of thing. Letting them know, telling them the actual, you can tell them the names of their body part so they can feel comfortable saying it, or you can just say my private part and letting them know where the private parts are. And that book talks about it, and then letting somebody know. Minimize the opportunity. All right, talk about it. That open, breaking down those barriers and those boundaries. And some children will test the waters. You know, they'll say a little something just to get a reaction from the parent or the guardian, just to see how you're going to respond. If you're going to blow up, or if you're going to, keep them talking. So children and like the elderly or whatever, you ask them open-ended questions. And then what happened? And then my grandmother was good about that. She pulling information so she could search it out. Because, we're not dummies, okay? The predators, they think we just as dumb and we let our children go. No, we're not dummies. Pull the information out of them and we can search out the information. And then recognize the signs. The signs of abuse aren't always obvious, but they're often there. So knowing our children, what's different now? Now my child doesn't want to take a bath. Now my child complains of pain. Her urine smells bad. She's itching in her private part. She's hurting down there in her private part. Stuff like that. Acting out. She's acting out and she didn't used to be that way. So something's new. Something's got to change. What is it? We get to the root of the problem instead of treating the symptoms. And then react responsibly. It is our responsibility to act appropriately to suspicion, disclosure, or discovery of the abuse. Disclosure, that means the child has reported it to us, or they went and told their principal or counselor, and the counselor reported it to us. So that disclosure of information has been reported to us. So now, how do we react? What do we do? So that's all I have. If you would just, you can make copies of this information and pass it out to your clients, to your parents, of the parents of your students, and like the meetings or whatnot. And the parents, some parents they'll behave the way they behave. It's all good, but at least we did our part, and that's the thing, doing our part. And that's all I have. Thank y'all. Thank you.